Brook Turner from VisionWest joining me now. Brook, kia ora, thank you so much for your time today.
Good, Andrew. Great to be here.
For some people, this seems counterintuitive. You know that you've got one generation that's older and confused with technology, and another generation which can't be separated from their technology. But there is a commonality between younger generations and older generations in our community.
Yeah, that's right. It's quite startling actually to see the commonality of need of feeling isolated and lonely. We're more connected through devices than ever before for the younger generation, but yet they feel more alone. And then obviously for our older populations, they feel like a lot of that technology boom is running away from them. They're not making that adaptation that younger generations are, but they still want to have interactions with other generations, and they feel isolated and alone as well, particularly if they've lost a loved one or they're living on their own, or if their whānau live outside of the city in which they inhabit. So, those challenges are big alongside, financial insecurity, housing instability, and health access actually for young people and for older people who are in hardship are equally challenging. So there's a lot to say, how might we bring these generations together? And of course, an interesting thing is brain scientists have shown that when a child is under the age of 5, they don't register age. So that's why if you're a grandparent out there listening today and your young 3-year-old granddaughter or grandson comes and wants to hang out with Papa or Nana, you're just Papa or Nana, my best friend. They don't actually register your age. And actually, likewise, interestingly, as older people, when we engage with children, we suddenly become kids again. So there's a lot in it for us to bring these two groups together.
And of course, the generation in between is often too busy just trying to make ends meet, to be able to make those two ends meet, and to help support both younger and older generations. I mean, this has been a part of traditional society in the past, but how can this work in the modern area? What are you guys proposing?
Yeah, well, at the moment, VisionWest is doing a really exciting feasibility study into intergenerational learning centres. And these are centres that combine an early childhood centre with supportive housing for older people, for over 65s, in one complex with shared spaces for learning. So imagine like your Zumba class where you've got your 4-year-old and your 75-year-old, or your art class, aerobics, whatever it may be. In some of the European examples, it's meant that tamariki in early childhood centres get more outings outside of the early childhood centres, trips to the zoo, the local park, the local playground, even to the theatre, because of course they've got the volunteer support of older people. And then for older people, they're more active and less isolated. So it actually increases health outcomes and life expectancy for the old. It increases educational outcomes for the young. Win-win.
I mean, this sounds like a common sense idea. And as you say, this is working successfully in other parts of the world. Having said that, though, we've got to do the research and make sure that this is something which is feasible and sustainable within the New Zealand environment.
That's right. And, it's actually a really old concept in Te Ao Māori, because, of course, if you go to any marae, you'll notice that there are kaumatua and kuia flats for older people, and there's the korangareo for younger people. So, what we're doing is in an urban setting, trying to create that connection between those generations where all can flourish. And actually, we need a bit of hope these days, Andrew. And I'm sure, often there's this ageism, like, older people are prejudiced, and then there's sort of this prejudice to younger people too that can happen. So how do we break down the prejudices by building community? And that's what we're seeking to do. And hopefully it'll be something that others can look at and go with as well. In fact, I just visited an Abbeyfield development the other day, which is basically flatting for older people. I'm not sure if some of your listeners know about this, but it's basically just a big house, 2 wings, 4 rooms on one side, 4 on the other, and a big lounge and kitchen in the middle. And it's literally a flat for older people. Who knew that would be flatting when we retire? But you can. and then bringing young people into that context as well.
This is absolutely fantastic. Now, feasibility study at this stage, any idea when, your hopes and dreams, when this is likely to be a reality and a new aspect to your ministries?
Yeah, so hoping that in the next year we will actually design the facility from the co-design group that we've had. So we've had children, parents who have their children in our early childhood centre, and older people actually designing what principles intergenerational learning needs in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And that will go into architectural design, and then it'll be that big word, fundraising, to make this a reality in West Auckland, hopefully in the next 3 to 5 years.
Of course, VisionWest has grown out of a local church in the community seeking to serve the needs of the community. Perhaps not on the scale of what you guys are doing, but this is something which other church communities, other people listening into the program, they can seek to do to build these bridges between the generations.
Absolutely. And look, intergenerational learning doesn't have to take place in a facility that's got housing incorporated with it. Think about some of the things we do with church. Sometimes we do segregate via age.
Yep.
We have our older people coffee group, we have our children's church, and we have our youth group.
Mm-hmm.
And we often use the Sunday service to gather everyone together. But what are the other ways that we can actually engage intergenerationally for big change?
Yeah.
That can make a huge difference, and you don't need a facility and a feasibility study to do that.
Yeah.
You just need connection, belonging, and community.
And I know a lot of churches, for example, Mainly Music is a big one. Who has time to volunteer for Mainly Music during the week? Well, it tends to be the older people, and I know this has been a successful model in many parts of New Zealand and in different parts of the world as well. Well, Brook, thank you so much for the work that you do. This certainly sounds an exciting concept. We wish you all the best for how that develops. And, of course, people can find out more about your ministry and the things that you're involved with at visionwest.org.nz. But kia ora, thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks so much, Andrew. Go well.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.